Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transparent Table Talk. I am your host, Bougiewild. As all are aware, Transparent Table Talk was brought to invite people that's willing to talk from a humble, transparent, and a vulnerable place about life. The mission is to show people that we all go through the same things and that it's all about how we think. It's all about how we look at things from a perspective. Make sure you all go check out Bougie Wow on Instagram and Facebook, as well as TikTok. And stop by and check out bougiewild.com. Bougiewild.com, it has empowerment, it has entertainment as well as fashion. So make sure you all stop over at bougiewild.com and pick up some of those signature tees because it's some awesome phrases as well as some fashion at bougiewild.com. So make sure you stop over at bougiewild.com. Without further ado, we're going to go into tonight's show. We have an awesome guest that's going to join us this evening. Let's do the introduction of our guest. Miss A.C. Babbitt is a Christian author, blogger, proofreader, and mentor to other aspiring authors. Besides relaunching her debut book, The Miscarriage Project, in 2019, a 2022 gold medalist winner in Illumination Book Awards 2022, silver medalist in fall 2022, Book Fest Award, and her new children's book series, Princess with a Purpose, 2021, 2022 Reader's Favorite finalist and gold medalist in fall 2022 Book Fest Awards. Also, she runs a Christian lifestyle blog titled The Haven. She has been featured on CBN Christian Broadcasting Network in November 2020. She attended Moody Bible Institute studying children's ministry and graduated with a BS in Biblical Studies with high honors. She has served in youth ministry with her husband for over 12 years. They have been married for 9 years and have 6 children. She enjoys living in the Midwest, USA. Most importantly, Babbitt believes when you understand and apply God's word to your life, you and your family can thrive. So, without further ado, welcome Miss A.C. Babbitt to Transparent Table Talk.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on Transparent Table Talk. You are an amazing woman.
Oh, thank you.
You're an amazing woman. So, if you would please elaborate and just tell us a little bit more about yourself before we go into the show.
Okay. So a little bit more about me. I've always wanted to be an author. So that's a big passion of mine. And I got saved when I was about a fourth grader at a church camp. And it was just an amazing moment of God really getting a hold of me of like, no, this is for real. It's not just religion. It's not just for show. It's for real. And so that was a big part of my life. My husband and I actually met when we were 3, but didn't start dating till we were in high school.
Awesome.
So God had a lot of plans there. And,
Yeah.
and then we do ministry together here in Wisconsin. So,
Awesome.
and then we have 6 kids, 5 at home, 1 in heaven. And I guess now we have a dog too. So I don't know if that counts, but.
Family, it's family. We all have that one spirit that's in all of us.
Yes.
We all have that one spirit. So, Transparent Table Talk is a little different from other shows. On other shows, they go out and they put a topic out there and they solicit for individuals to be a guest. But Transparent Table Talk is a little different. It allows the guest to actually title the show.
Mm.
So the name of this show is Healing from Miscarriage. So if you would, what brought you to Transparent Table Talk? Would you please share with us what brought you to Transparent Table Talk?
Well, for me, um, as an author, kind of learning the ropes. Podcasts are a thing. This is my first one, so thank you for having me. Uh,
Thank you for.
yeah. So I'm a busy mama. I so when I work on my books and I work on my writing and I work with people like yourself, I um, the time matters and the time counts. So I want this to, for me, my miscarriage brought me to Transparent Table Talk because not many people are willing to talk about it, especially at least back in 2016. There's been a lot more books, a lot more people talking about it since then, and I wish I'd had that level of support or that level of transparency with people back then.
Mhm.
Um, But I'm just really, really thankful that more people are coming out and talking about this.
Okay. So if you would elaborate when you say that more people are coming out and talking about it, what are those things that you wish that people would have had, like groups or some type of program? Could you elaborate on what are people doing now that they were not doing back in 2016?
Um, well, since writing the book, I've just been doing a lot more research on what's even out there. In Tennessee, there's actually a national memorial for the unborn, which is amazing. And then there's several places that, especially for stillborn babies, they
Mhm.
turn wedding dresses into burial gowns for them, and just a very special, making it very special for the parents and for the child being buried. So that's a really neat thing. But for me personally, I think it was just having other people to talk to, besides my, immediate circle, especially being a youth pastor's wife, you know, especially right after the miscarriage, that was my focus. That's what I was stuck on. And I think it really affected a lot of my relationships in the church, um,
Mhm.
sadly. Um, because of the depression and just the resentment and maybe some hurtful things people said. So for me, just having more books out there, having more like people I could just like reach out to and talk through things with. There's actually specific miscarriage hashtags that you can follow for more, like anyone who posts about it. It'll come up on your feed, and whether that's organizations or groups or just individuals that are going through it in the moment.
And you said that you experienced depression, and then there were things that people said. On Transparent Table Talk, as I share with all my guests, we talk from a humble, transparent, and a vulnerable place to
Mhm.
ensure that the listeners understand that we all go through the same things, right? We all go through the same things. So let's speak from that place of, and I know this is a vulnerable place that I'm tapping into,
Mhm.
as far as the hurtful things that people said, because they may not realize that they were hurtful.
No, no. And I think, and I'm a Christian and I
Yes.
believe in Jesus and God in heaven, but in that very raw, vulnerable place of loss, they
Mhm.
don't want you to fix it. We don't want you to fix it. We don't want you to be like, "Oh, it'll be better. Oh, they're in heaven. Oh, God's got a plan." Like, yes, that's all true and very valid, but that's not the time in their grieving process that they're ready to hear that.
Mhm.
Honestly, the best thing someone ever said to me was, "I'm so sorry," and gave me a hug, and that was it. Just acknowledging the pain, not trying to fix it. I think that was the biggest. And someone got us flowers, and we thankfully had gotten an ultrasound, so we were able to make a shadow box for him in memory of him. Um, and like some people from MOPS brought us meals, like just genuinely treating it like a death in the family because it is a death in the family.
Yes.
And I think it was so different because not everyone acknowledges that. Some people just want to move on, you know, and especially in the medical field, like that was just really, really difficult. People at church would say stuff like, because my story is kind of unique where I had a miscarriage and then a week later I was pregnant. And then a month later, I find out that it's an ectopic pregnancy and God miraculously moved her to
Mm.
survive. And she's going to be 6 this February. So um,
Awesome.
I have a very unique story in that sense because not everyone gets to get pregnant again or has that miraculous interaction
Mm-hmm.
miracle. So it's a little different for me, but especially getting pregnant with a boy and then a girl, they're like, well, aren't you glad you're having a girl instead of a boy? I'm like,
Mm.
no, like God thankfully like wiped from my memory who even said it.
I understand.
Just, I mean, just because it was so hurtful, or people would be like, are you sure you had a miscarriage? Are you
Mm.
sure? Because I got pregnant so quick, they're like, are you sure you weren't having twins? Like, it's like they were questioning me and my loss, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know what my body just did.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure I know what it's doing now. So it was just some things like that, or just how people would talk to me about my depression. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they treat me like a mental patient. It's like, no, I'm just really grieving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really grieving, and it has consumed my entire world. And I don't think everyone understands that. You know, 'cause
So from what I'm hearing from you, it's like they couldn't relate because I guess the baby wasn't a physical being. And so, like you said, just so we can make sure the listeners understand that coming from a lady that experienced what you did,
mhm,
allow me to grieve, allow me to
mhm,
go through this process
right,
of that I did lose a child because I saw this heartbeat. I know this child was in my body. This
right,
this this is my baby. This is
yeah,
my baby. You know, I am a mother. And just for the listener, so that we can learn in listening to what you're saying is, you know, we all know that there's God. We all know the process and that it's going to get better. But just let me have this moment.
yeah,
Allow me to grieve.
yes,
Allow me to grieve. I can relate to you on that. I can relate to you on that. Okay. If you would tell me about the book, how did the book come from this? Tell me about the book and what your message is in the book.
sure. So the book actually started as a blog initially, entitled "The Child I Never Held," and honestly, I started about a month later, and the Lord's like, "You're gonna write about this," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And He's like, "You're gonna write about this," and He was very persistent, and I fought it, and but literally, it was like I couldn't move on in my day without
Mm-hmm,
writing about it. It's like the Lord like just put that in me of like I had to write about it,
mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
even though it was very painful. Uh,
Yes.
but it was also very healing too. So it's my testimony over 3 years' time, and then the Lord's like, "You're going to publish this," and then I'm like, "No, I'm not." And He's like, "Yes, you are." And so, because I didn't want to be known for this,
Mm-hmm,
and that sounds terrible, but like I didn't want to be the known. I didn't want to be known for this because at the time I just really felt like it was my fault, and so I felt like I was being known for a failure. But that's not true, you know, and but I didn't realize that at the time really. And then I reached out to some people I know, and so there's 9 other testimonies of people in there as well, including my husband. So he gives his perspective as a dad and as a pastor. You know, how do you grieve and question and struggle with this even when you're Christian? Even when you're supposed to be leading other people in the faith, like how do you wrestle with this? And then we were privileged to help a couple in our own youth group actually walk through miscarriage as well. You know, and the teen pregnancy sense, that was very humbling. And I feel very honored to be a part of helping them through that. So yeah, it's a heavy book, but I also made sure it wasn't graphic. I didn't
And you
want,
said that you felt like it was your fault. Like,
yeah,
could you please explain that? Like from so I can to help me understand.
sure. Um, So in the moment, I think as a mom, like we're meant to nurture and we're
Mhm.
meant to take care of our kids. And when this happens, even though it is completely out of our control, it still feels like our fault because our body failed.
Mm.
Our body failed to protect and take care of the baby. And so it feels very like even though there's nothing I could have done. Absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
And I want to make that very clear because that is a very common feeling among lost moms is it's my fault. It is not your fault. It is not. I want to make that very clear. But it feels like it, and
Mhm.
the enemy really, really attacks you in that mental space of, and you can get real far from God if you let
Mhm.
the enemy drive you that way.
Mhm.
Because, well, you wrestle with, well, God is in control, but my baby died,
Mhm.
like, and mine was the day after Mother's Day. And so just feeling like Mother's Day is very hard for me since then because it just feels like what's there to celebrate because I failed. Um, but I didn't. That was for me personally. There's a very common like uh, DNA mutation in my blood that
Mhm.
caused me to have blood clots. And miscarriage is a symptom of that. And my doctor never explained that to me, never explained that that could even be a possibility. And so for me, I believe that's what happened. I believe that's how he died.
Mhm.
It was like out of my control. Like I can't control my genetics. I can't control what my body did. But it's crazy though. Like God was
Mhm.
preparing me to have two babies.
Mhm.
So when you first hear that, you think, oh, you're going to have twins. But I didn't. I had two separate babies in the same, within a year's time. So the Lord was preparing me for that. And I had no idea. He was
Mhm.
preparing me for that because I like to know things ahead of time. I don't like to be surprised or whatnot. So for me, like the Lord was still taking care of me even before it even happened.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, this is an amazing story in that, a book was born out of it in a sense. And
Yes.
from what you're telling me, that writing the book was healing.
Oh,
Is is that what I'm hearing? And then you're like the advocate. You're the advocate for these for people that are going through the same thing because it seems like you've done a lot of research. It seems like, like you said, a ministry was born out of it. Um, so that takes me on to after writing the book and once you had the book complete, like what did that feel like? Like once you sat there and was reading this book, like what tell me about that experience.
I couldn't believe it. Um, I thought I would have to like do all this writing and do so much more, but I literally put the blog together.
Mhm.
It was a complete book besides the testimonies. I was like, "Whoa, Lord." Like, "Whoa." And I kid you not. So the 3-year anniversary of his death or his
Mhm.
miscarriage, we call that his birthday. 3 years to the day, I get a call from like a vanity press publisher. And then 3 years to the day, his due date, which was in December, we had a launch party. So literally in those specific dates within 6 months, the book was done.
Mm.
Like it was together, it was done, it was out there. I was like, I didn't even plan it that way. Uh,
Mm.
when I realized the launch party was his due date, I'm like, oh wow,
Wow.
wow, like
That
3 years to the day.
right.
Yeah,
That's a wow.
yeah. So God is amazing. Like he already had this planned, but like, God is not, he did not create death. We let that into the world. And so I
Mm.
think we really have to own that as humanity. Like we were part of that and we live in that sinful nature every day. But God gives us the power through the Holy Spirit to overcome that. And so not letting the enemy make God the enemy,
Mm.
but reminding ourselves, you know, Like, this is something we're going to have to fight for the rest of our lives until we're on the other side of heaven.
You just said something, not letting the enemy make God the enemy.
Yeah.
Because when death occur, especially, in situations such as, we feel like it's premature, I can see where we will, if we allow the enemy to make God the enemy. That's deep.
Yeah.
You just said something right there, because I can see a lot of people that deal with the loss of children, or if somebody get taken tragically away from them,
Right.
or if somebody just all of a sudden die, and we can struggle with that. Like, that was a powerful statement. Don't allow the enemy to allow you to make God the enemy. That's profound.
Yeah.
I can really see where, as our physical being, can allow that to happen
Mm-hmm.
when we get away from the spirit. And then one other thing you just said, I want you to elaborate. When you said that God did not create death, we did. Could you expound on that? I'm listening. That's interesting. I'm
Yeah.
learning here.
So, in the garden, when Adam and Eve disobeyed, they brought sin and shame into the world.
Hmm.
Literally became part of our physical makeup. And it literally became like part of part of all of creation. Like the outdoor life, the animals, the plants, the ground. Like, it literally infested everything.
Mm.
And when the Bible talks about creation is groaning and waiting for Jesus to come back and restore them to what they used to be. I think
Mm.
that's or like the new heaven and the new earth, like they're waiting for that reconciliation, and that just that sin be completely wiped away from creation itself. um so I think that's you know it talks about Eve. It was delightful, like it was useful for food and a delight to the eyes. And it's like the enemy was already preying on her weaknesses. He was already preying on, well, doesn't this look like an amazing option?
Hmm.
And I think that's, yeah, and that's a huge part of why God set up, man as the head of the household. And that's a whole nother topic. But,
Hmm.
because not because of society, but because Eve sinned first.
Hmm.
She's considered the weaker vessel, not in a bad way,
Hmm.
in a vulnerable, valuable way.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes we take it too personally. We're like, "What are you calling us, weak?" And it's not about that. That's not what it's about at all. It's telling men to honor us, and to treat us valuably.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a whole other whole other topic. But
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But I mean, you made some valid points there. That's why I love to talk. I love to talk. I love to learn. And that's, like you said, that's a whole nother conversation
mhm,
that we need to have. So what do you do to keep a positive mindset? Because like you said, we do have that spiritual war, right? We
mhm.
have a spiritual war, and when things happen, we have to practice daily to stay on a positive uh, outlook, to stay optimistic. So, what do you do daily to keep a positive mindset?
Well, lately I've been doing like the YouVersion Bible app and just doing the daily verse every day, because I know, like, no matter how busy I get, I can soak in one verse a day. And especially with 5 kids at home, it-
Mhm.
I don't get to study the word as deeply as I would like to. I really miss that about Bible college. But um, yeah, and at least pondering a verse a day and like putting on the armor of God, putting on the word of God. Um, and that just really helps my day go so much better. I'm calmer, I'm more peaceful. sometimes I'll get a chance to listen to like maybe a podcast or
Mm-hmm.
a Bible study on Right Now Media or something. But um, another part too is like the women's Bible study we're part of, talking about women of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really neat, and just to see like through new eyes every time what these women would have had to go through to live the life that God called them to, is really inspiring as well.
Yes. I too start the day with, I started with WWW, worship, water, and workout.
Mm,
Yeah. It's like I have to get up every day and feed my mind
mhm,
before I go into the world. And then I have to love on me, which is my water and my workout. And I look at it as, training my mind to be able to endure. And today was one of those days I was tested where I had to come back home and put on the book of John to remind me, Yolanda, tests are going to come. They are going to come every day. So I do encourage everyone to get up and train your mind with something positive every day. And I share with people that the Bible it's a roadmap. I look at it as a roadmap to download, just like the phones. They come with the basic apps like the phone and the messenger and the clock and the calculator.
mhm,
But whatever we download on that phone is how it's going to operate. So I am a big influencer as it pertains to the mindset because, things are going to happen. Things are going to happen just like with this your situation, what happened, we, like you said, it's beyond our control, but
right.
everything and how we look at it does come from our mindset. I have one of the listeners say that's asking, what about praying? um I mean, does it work? Yes, praying, you have to
Yes,
speak.
yes.
Yes.
I mean,
I
from
mean, that's what
experience.
you're doing when you're in the scripture. You're actually training your mind. Praying is reciting, it's actually reciting how you want the mind to operate through the Holy Spirit that's in you, through you, as you. That's how. I
Yep.
mean, I don't know if you see it like that. I'm an open minded person. I'm not attached to anything. I am a person that receive and consider everyone's perspective as it pertains to this one spirit that's in all of us. So
Mhm.
I'm going to allow you to expound on that too.
Sure. I mean, kind of like I talked about before, like my daughter is like purely a miracle. And she was ectopic, and we ended up having like an ultrasound before. She wasn't in the uterus, and there's all this blood flow to the ovarian cyst. And so they give me three options. I can take something to get rid of it. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
I can wait, see what happens, or we could do a laparoscopic scope, which is like a small surgery basically to see what's going on. And my husband and I both felt led that we were to do the surgery. But before the surgery, I'm left alone in the ER room, and I'm like, Lord, I am not losing another baby. You move this baby to work and survive. I'd had it. I had just miscarried, and I had prayed for 3 days straight for that baby to survive. And that, I mean, now that I know, like he had already been gone for a month, like he was already gone, and I didn't realize that either till later in the ultrasound. But and then after the surgery, like I'm signing these, or before the surgery, I'm signing all these papers, what to do with the remains. Like when they're about to knock me out, I'm like, no, wait. And then they knocked me out for the surgery because I didn't think I'd be pregnant when I woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And I wake up and I'm coming out of the anesthesia, and my husband's like, you're still pregnant. I'm like, he had to say it like 10 to 20 times. I'm like, what? Like how? Like I couldn't understand with all the medication. Um, but yeah, the surgeon and the follow up is like, I don't know what to tell you, but there was no baby in that cyst. And then the next ultrasound, she was right there in the uterus.
And I'm speechless, first of all, because I've been on this journey, right? I've been on this journey, on this spiritual journey. in which I'm discovering we have power. Our words have power. Like, we are all connected. There's one universe. And just to sit here and listen to you say, you know what, I am not losing another baby. We're going to have a baby. I am seeing things that I'm saying come true.
Hmm.
Like, we really have to tap into it and recognize it as it happened.
Mhm.
But if you sit back and reflect, the things that we say, the things that
Mhm.
we speak over our lives, I'm really seeing them. Like, for an example, and I know I'm going, but I had been saying, I want new floors in my house. I want new floors. I went on an 8-day cruise and I came home. The pipes had bursted in my house. Don't know how long they've been running.
Oh
You
no.
know, it seems like a disaster to some, but and when I first walked in, my house was a lake. But guess what?
You got new floors.
I'm getting new floors.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the negative side of that, I had two under two, and then I found out I was pregnant with the one I miscarried, and I'm like, Lord, I can't do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, and I basically passively wished for a miscarriage because
Mm.
I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, which I still had three under three, but that moment of weakness, and that was a big moment that the enemy used as, it's your fault. You prayed for this. You wanted this. So that's what happened. And
Oh, so you're saying with the miscarriage, you said that
correct.
the
I
word. I'm telling y'all, our words have power.
um because I just something, it's like I just, and I know God has a bigger purpose for me, and to reach out to these women because and men,
Yes.
because they're struggling too. Um but I feel like God already had that in motion. So I don't know how much of that was that God answering my prayer, because I still had another baby right after that. So that's a part of the mystery of the whole thing, is why did you save one child but not the other? It's very
But just, let's visit what you said. I mean, you said what you said, and then the second one you said something different.
yeah.
And what I'm discovering is that we have the power. It's one energy that's in all of us.
Yeah,
And in the Bible, it does say life and death lies in the power of the tongue.
that's true. Yeah.
But
I
I mean, thank you for being vulnerable with us on Transparent Table Talk to speak that truth. Because guess what? Your truth sets you free.
Yeah, and I think I've carried that for so long, because you know then it's admitting it's my fault, or it's admitting I did something wrong, or whatever. And um yeah, it's very difficult. And I think, but I was really struggling with valuing my children, because I was so stressed, because I was so tired, because I was, third time I'm pregnant in 3 years or less, and I'm like, Lord, I just can't do this. I mean, just a place of just overwhelm. And I think I was struggling with some undealt with postpartum depression for sure.
I can see that. I can see that. But then I see it as
Yeah.
realizing and recognizing that we have power.
Yeah.
I,
And
I, I mean, I,
and that every child counts. Like every child matters. And I think it
yeah,
just completely changed my perspective
yeah,
on how
yeah,
valuable a life is, and how miraculous that is, that we're even born at all.
yes.
Um, and so, yeah, it's been, I just feel like I value life itself more, because, you don't know what you have till it's gone.
Right. I understand.
Um,
So how old are your children? I should have asked that.
okay. So my son is 8, or 8.5. Uh, I have a 7.5-year-old, a soon to be 6-year-old, and she's the rainbow baby. and a firecracker. Sometimes I'm like, Lord, what'd you give me? But
Look, she came in causing ruckus. She like, I'm letting you know I'm strong, you know.
oh, oh yeah, for sure. She's named for her 3 Christian grandmothers, and they had spunk. They had
uh,
fire in them too.
yes, yes.
And then my next daughter, she is 4, almost 4.5, and then my youngest will be 2 next month.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's amazing. Children are beautiful. Like, I have four myself, and as an older person, one, I wish I would have had all mine together like that. I have a 30-year-old, a 28, 18, and a 15-year-old. So I
Oh,
think it's awesome that all of them are growing up together. I know during that toddler stage, it is hard. Like, it is hard. I'm not gonna sit up as a mother and say, "Oh, it's not. Oh, yes, it's hard." You
yeah,
know.
yes, and people are like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "I didn't plan it that way. God planned
Yeah,
it that way." Like, I
right,
don't have that kind of control.
right, right, right. So, what message would you like to give people that's dealing with the same thing that you went through?
Hmm. Well, in my book, I talk about 7 things I've learned from this whole process. And I already talked about how how it's not your fault. Um, you're still an amazing mom and dad, even though you've lost a baby or multiple babies. Um, I know like, especially my cousins and my aunts, like they've lost, 7 to 10 to that many babies, even twins. It's anyway. Um, and then um, let me just reference it really quick.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's do this.
It's been a day.
Oh, believe me, I understand.
Though God is in control, He did not create death. So we talked about that.
Yes.
Though it's the worst pain I've ever felt, God still has a plan. God still wants to bring good out of your suffering. And even though, in the darkness, in the cave of grief, you can't see it, eventually you will be able to see it and
Mhm.
to give yourself grace and patience. Like, it will come. You can't force yourself to be hopeful. Don't let the fear of losing another child keep you from trying to have more children. Because usually after you've lost a baby, most people are just done. Like, they might have a rainbow baby and then they're done because they're just so afraid of losing more babies. Um, so you don't want the enemy to steal the joy in life from your family. But everyone's different. Some people just, their bodies just don't work for them. And so um, take that to mean whatever it means for your family and your own body. You're not alone in your grief. I mean, there's millions of women that have lost babies. Even in the Bible, it talks about miscarriage, and um, David and Bathsheba lost a baby is the one that kind of comes to mind. But I would just wonder how many babies were lost that aren't even recorded in the Bible. I'm sure there were thousands. I'm sure there were thousands.
Mhm.
And then this is really important to me. Killing or harming yourself will not fix anything or ease the pain.
Mm.
Um, to be fully transparent, there was a time that I was suicidal because I just was in such despair, and I had felt like it was just my fault. I was a failure as a mother and a wife. I felt like I had caused this pain, and like I was so far from God in that moment. Or I was just like, putting him at arm's length. I'm like, I can't. It really shook my trust with God. It
Mm.
really did. And I'm still healing from that because, you know, I felt like everything the Bible said about miscarriage was making it my fault, or it was a curse of some disobedience. Um,
Mhm.
and it felt like a punishment. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, what did I do? Like, basically, what is wrong with me? And I was in the pit. I was in the pit of despair and thankfully, I didn't try anything, and thankfully, I was very vulnerable with my husband about that, and I was able to get some help with that. But that's a big thing. Get help. Even
Yeah.
when you think you don't need it, you probably do. Um, I've lost over 30 people in my life, like close knit, like 6 classmates, aunts and uncles and grandparents. Recently lost my uncle. My dad has an illness that he's dying from. I mean, I am no stranger to grief, but the miscarriage was the worst grief I've ever felt in my entire life. It was just so internal and so personal. It really shook me. And I'm just really thankful that the Lord brought me out of that, and had mercy on me, because I think mentally and spiritually and emotionally, I was just done. I was so devastated.
Mm, mm. So, my last question is what I ask all my guests. During that time that you were going through what you were going through,
Mhm.
and what is that conversation that you wish someone would have sat you down and hang with you?
Mm. I think just loving on me in the moment and continuing to speak truth into me, when it was appropriate, when I was ready.
Hmm.
Um, and I think just someone explaining to me from a biblical perspective, um, in a helpful way, not and that is one
Hmm.
thing I wish there was a lot more of in the Bible, is just talking about that, you know, the pain women went through, and, the miscarriages, and, the dying in childbirth and things like that, that I feel like there's a big chunk missing there, for women. I think sometimes as women, when we come to the Bible, like, the Bible did not help me, and I hate to say that because I love God's word. That is my life, and my life source, but, I think I've just really had to focus on the Psalms, and when David, talks about being in the pit, and then, depths
Hmm.
of despair, and that's where I really had to go,
Hmm.
um, to find hope, because I just felt like, and talking to other people. So at the time I was in private sales, and I went to a conference, and I mean, this is just within a couple months of the miscarriage, and I just broke into tears. And this, like, I just lost a baby and whatnot. And this lady gave me a baby foot pin, because I had been wanting something physical to, like,
Hmm.
physically represent him, but also, like, just tangible.
Right.
And so God really brought people into my life, but I also had to seek those people out. I think now there's so many more books, so many more resources where, um, and organizations just all over the United States, even in the UK, that you can reach out to, that you can find these online support groups. I have a Facebook support group, as well. Um, I don't know. I think just more support at the time, and just more understanding of the depth of my sorrow, and people not just trying to cover it and subdue it.
Hmm.
Let me grieve and love me through it.
Mm.
Makes sense.
Love me through it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Love me through it. That's deep.
yeah,
Love me through it.
yeah.
So, if you would please tell us where we can find your book, where we can find your Facebook group, where we can find your blog. Just tell everyone how to find you and your book.
Okay. Well, this is what the new cover looks like. The Miscarriage Project.
Hmm.
It's got its two awards on there. So it is available, on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, my website if you want it personally signed. So that's acbabbitt.com. And, the audiobook is recently out too. So, which, I am just so excited about. So that can be found in over, like, an Audible, Nook. I mean, pretty much anywhere where audiobooks are produced, the audiobook is available as well. So if you're not really a reader, you're more of a listener, the audiobook is out now too.
So did you narrate your own book?
I thought about it, but the way my life is right now, I didn't. So the lovely Deja Nance narrated it, and also um, I don't know, but you know this about me. But my adopted brother is half black, so
Mm-hmm.
for me, I wanted to empower the black community, and especially since miscarriages are more prevalent in the black community. So she is the narrator is black as well, and I love her voice in it. I'm just really
Yeah,
really thankful. I'm really
yeah.
thankful.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
just wanted to relate to I just wanted to relate to more people, and I don't know. I don't feel like I have a good um, audio listening voice, I guess, but
I'm
maybe that's me.
enjoying talking to you today. You know, but I hear you as far as keeping the listeners engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, engaged. Awesome. So you guys make sure you all go check out the Miscarriage Project. Show us the book again. I love that. Pretty illustration.
Yeah. Thank
Oh,
you.
it's nice. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there any questions that anyone have that is watching right now? Do you all have any questions? Any comments? Is there anything else you would like to add or close out or just say?
Well, I would like to say I am coming out with a children's book for siblings in a family who've miscarried. So it's called My Brother in Heaven.
Mm,
It's based on my son as a 2-year-old asking questions about his baby brother in heaven. Um, so that'll be coming out later this year.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
that'll be something to keep an eye out for. The illustrations are done. I'm just kind of getting ready to get it made.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us on Transparent Table Talk, where its purpose is to bring awareness to those topics that typically we don't discuss because of shame or blame. And the mission is to let people know we are all going through the same thing, and we will not give the devil any power. We will. We know that it's a spiritual warfare out here, and just by joining each other in conversation to share our experiences, to let each other know we are going through the same thing, and that it's okay. It's okay. And so I just want to thank you again. I am so grateful. Like when I put this show out, so many people responded to where I had to open up a second day. I'm doing it now on
Oh,
Tuesdays and
wow.
Thursdays. Yes.
Wow. Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I said Transparent Table Talk is getting ready to change the world because we are giving glory to God and letting people know that regardless of what you've been through, we can, through the Spirit of God, make the choice. Make the choice to train our minds, make the choice to keep our eyes on God. And I like something you said, let's not allow the enemy to cause God to become the enemy.
Yes.
That was deep.
Yes.
That was deep. You put something on my mind.
Yeah, we can be very disillusioned and very easily, and sometimes we do it to ourselves, and we um, kind of shut ourselves in a box and be like, "No, Lord, like I'm off for the day." Like, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
yeah, and especially it's usually people who have lost someone
mm-hmm.
that just because we weren't created to handle death. We weren't created with that capacity, so of course it would overwhelm us and devastate us because we weren't created with that capacity to deal with it. We,
Mm.
um, and everyone
Yeah,
grieves differently, for sure.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think everybody on the podcast tonight is really feeling when you said, don't let the enemy cause God to be the enemy. You put something on my mind today.
Yeah.
You did. You did. And where can we find your group? AC, what's the name of your group on Facebook?
So if you go to, if you look up AC Babbitt author, so if you look up my author page and just message me to add you to the group. I can do that.
Okay. And
Yep.
is that where your blog is? Are you blogging in the group, or is that is that on your website?
Right. So that's acbabbitt.com.
Okay. So your blog is on the website, but
Yes.
then you also have a support group for mothers whom have lost a child.
Yes.
So that's awesome, you guys. We got a resource out there. Make sure you go check out the AC. Oh, she has it on the screen. Oh, she's awesome. She's awesome, you guys. So thank you again for joining us, and you all stay tuned to Transparent Table Talk on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we're talking about life from a humble, transparent, and vulnerable place. Our mission is to change the world by speaking about topics that we are typically shame or living in blame, to give God the glory and understanding that we have a choice. This is your girl Bougiewild. Thank you so much for joining us, and I am out. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Some call me bougie, some call me wild. The funny thing is, it's just my personality and style. I said that.